Today I'll be reviewing Thrawn, Ascendancy, Lesser Evil. This is the conclusion of the Ascendancy trilogy by Timothy Zahn. I'm not going to get a whole lot into the plot today, just in case you haven't read the first couple books in the trilogy. I'm going to more touch on my general feelings of this book and the trilogy in a whole, how I enjoyed it, that type of stuff, and touch on some elements of this book that really won't spoil the plot. But before I get into that, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate the support. And if you enjoy this video, please hit that like button. It means a lot. So with that being said, overall, I thought Lesser Evil was a really good ending to this trilogy. Satisfied with how the kind of storyline of this 3-book series was wrapped up. I wasn't really left with anything like, God, I felt like they did an awful job wrapping up this storyline, or that was just kind of left hanging. Overall, I was very satisfied. The final kind of battle slash climax, I guess you could say, of the storyline, I found very interesting, and I was trying to guess along with how that was going to conclude. If you're a big Thrawn fan, you know a lot of times you are trying to guess along with him and trying to figure out what is Thrawn trying to do to see if you can think the same way he thinks. I kind of compare it to like reading like a book about Sherlock Holmes. You know, trying to solve the case and trying to figure out who the person is, just to see if you can think like Sherlock Holmes. So I think with Thrawn books, a lot of times you're trying to figure out like, how's Thrawn going to win this or attempt to win this, and see if you can kind of follow his logic path. So the end definitely kept me guessing on how he was going to do that. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. Probably my favorite part of this book, and I've seen some other reviewers touch on this, is there's flashbacks chapters throughout this book that focus on Thrawn and his brother Thras. In those books I really enjoyed. I felt like you get a lot more look at Thrawn's personality than you typically do in these books. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. Thras is also a very interesting character. I really enjoyed that because you're really getting a look at Thrawn through probably the person who had the closest relationship to him. Again, I'm not the first person that said this. I've seen some other people touch on this, but those flashback chapters really made me want to see some, like a Thrawn Thras book, just those two. You know, it doesn't even have to be a series, a standalone book. Those two I'd really enjoy, or maybe just some more content about Thras. I would enjoy him because he was definitely one of the more interesting parts of this book. Another part of this book and the trilogy in the whole that I enjoyed, but especially this last book, I think Timothy Zahn did a really good job of developing the supporting characters and really making you care about them, but also finding them interesting. Sometimes in Thrawn books, because Thrawn is so interesting and I love that character so much, that when the storyline goes away from him and it's focusing on another character, I just don't find it enjoyable. It's really hard to kind of make me care about a character enough that I'm okay with the focus being taken off Thrawn. But with this third book, I think Timothy Zahn did a really good job of building up these supporter characters that I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And I didn't really feel like, oh, I'm missing Thrawn here. It's like, no, I'm really enjoying these other characters and how their story is kind of progressing. So excellent job on this. Overall, you know, if I had to rank this compared to other Thrawn trilogies, my favorite is still the original, the old Expanded Universe trilogy where we introduced to the character. That's definitely my favorite. I think it will be hard to ever top that because not only do you have Thrawn, but you have all the movie characters we'd grown up with. You know, Luke, Han, Leia, Chewie, Lando, all those. So it's going to be hard to make you care about any new characters the same way you cared about those original characters. But overall, I really enjoyed this trilogy. So if you're a Thrawn fan and you haven't picked up this trilogy yet, I would highly recommend it. If you've been reading the trilogy and you haven't got around to getting this concluding book of this series, definitely recommend it. I think you'll be satisfied with how it wraps up. And overall, actually, if you enjoy Thrawn, I think you're going to enjoy this book. If you've never read any Thrawn books, I would say this trilogy is an okay place to start. You're not going to be super confused by it, but I would say Thrawn books tend to be harder science fiction and not as much fantasy like some other Star Wars books. So if you're typically not into hard sci-fi and you're more in the fantasy element of Star Wars, Thrawn books might not be for you. But if you typically maybe don't like Star Wars books that lean more towards the fantasy side and you enjoy more the hard sci-fi side, read some Thrawn books. They definitely lean that element and they are amazing. So anyway, so I hope you enjoyed this review. Again, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel, like this video,